Welcome into another edition of the Creighton Basketball Newsletter. I'm Jon Nyatawa with the World-Herald. Creighton is set to start its 2021-22 season this week. I'm recording this on a Monday. The Jays play twice this week, on Tuesday and Thursday. And then next week, big game, Huskers, Jays in Lincoln. A lot of fun. We'll learn a lot about both teams, really, because both rosters are filled with new pieces. So that'll be fun. But hey, we got some games to break down and analyze before then. And I think I'm going to use this space today to talk about the season as a whole. There's going to be plenty of coverage in the World-Herald today, tomorrow, on the Arkansas Pine Bluff game in particular, and Kennesaw State after that. So check out the World-Herald for that. And if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, the Creighton newsletter, do that. It's really simple, omaha.com/newsletters. Type that into your browser, click the box. You guys know. And if you haven't told some friends about it, do it. Other Creighton fans. This is a fun space for me to talk directly to the fan base, and plus I get your feedback about what you want to write about, and I can have full autonomy to do whatever I want, essentially, in terms of how I cover this team in this newsletter space. So again, subscribe and let everyone know that it's cool. Right? All right, on to the season preview. I guess that's kind of what I'll do today, is sort of a season preview with some predictions. I'll get kind of bold with it, I guess. We just wrote on Sunday, had a package put together previewing the season. The story sort of centered around what I think is going to be the theme for these Jays, these young Jays, who are probably going to have at least one freshman on the floor at all times. Probably two, maybe three, and perhaps as many as 6 freshmen in the top rotation. So incredibly young. This isn't something that Creighton has really seen under Greg McDermott before. So growth is going to be important. Like who they are today, obviously it matters. Creighton wants to get wins, and it doesn't want to dig itself such a deep of a hole in November and December with bad losses or disappointing results that it can't dig out of it or climb out of it and make the postseason, whether that's the NIT or the NCAA tournament. But it is about sort of zeroing in on, hey, how can we get better? And I think if the players buy into that, it's going to be tough because they're going to take some lumps and they're going to go through some growing pains. But if they're able to stick together, they'll be in a really good position at the end of the year because they have a lot of talent and they're pretty confident. They're a pretty confident group. And obviously the coaching staff is proven. They've put some really good teams together in the Big East over the last few years. And so why can't they do that again with this group? Obviously, again, they're going to have to grow. But I think back to the 2018-2019 team for Creighton. That's 3 years ago. Mitch Ballock, Tyshawn Alexander, sophomores, Damian Jefferson, sophomore, Marcus Zagorowski, Christian Bishop, freshman. That team lost 4 in a row in the Big East twice. They suffered 2 separate 4-game losing streaks in conference play, yet stayed committed to that process of like, hey, we're growing, we're going to get better, just got to keep grinding. And then at the end of the year, they won 5 straight. Finished 9-9 in conference play, tied for 3rd, nearly snuck into the NCAA tournament. And obviously that was the goal. And so they felt afterward that they didn't quite meet their expectations by ending up in the NIT. But I feel like that final stretch and just sort of their season-long resolve and commitment to staying focused on the end goal. And coming together as a team and not separating, not going apart. That whole process, which led to 5-game winning streak at the end of the year, set the stage. That set the stage for the 2020 Big East Championship and the 2021 run to the Sweet 16. And so for this team, while these guys are super competitive and they want to have a lot of success this year, they're not worried about 2023 or 2024. They could do a lot by setting sort of a foundation and building a culture and determining like, hey, this is who we want to be, this is what we want to be about, despite going through the ups and downs of winning some good games, playing really bad on some nights and losing some. So I think, to me, that's the important part for this team, and we'll see how it handles some adversity as the games unfold and the season goes. My guess at this point, it's really just a guess because, again, there's so many new pieces and it's hard to really project how quickly things are going to click for these guys because it could click in January. Maybe it takes till March. Maybe it's next year. But I've got them at like 18 and 13. So that's actually about where they landed. It might have been the exact record, 18 and 13, at the end of the 2018-2019 season. So 3 years ago, if you remember, that team that ultimately ended in the NIT entered the Big East tournament at 18 and 13 with maybe needing 1 or 2 wins to clinch a spot in the NCAA tournament. I think that's where this team's going to be. I peg them at 500 in Big East play, maybe 8 and 3 in non-conference action. So that gives you an 18 and 13 record, which puts you right on the bubble. Most likely, I guess it kind of depends on who the Jays beat and who they lose to. If they can avoid bad losses and put a couple quality wins on the resume, they'll be right in the hunt for the NCAA tournament. My guess, though, is that they'll finish just on the outside at the NIT and go to the NIT. But who knows? Again, it's November. A lot could change, and this team, things could click for them in any instance. So today, I'm forecasting an NIT berth for this squad, but certainly they have the capability to be in the NCAA tournament. And if you're on the bubble, you're really just 1 or 2 results away. And whether that's in the Big East tournament or late in the season, we'll see. We'll see what this team does. Some guesses on leaders. Let's see. I think Alex O'Connell will lead the team in scoring. I think Arthur Kaluma is going to lead the team in rebounding. I think Ryan Nembhard is going to lead the team in assists. Ryan Hawkins looks like the best three-point shooter, so watch out for him. He'll have some games, I think, where he scorches the nets. Maybe not quite to the level of a Mitch Ballock or Marcus Zagorowski, but still, he's a really good shooter. 41% from behind the arc in his career at the D2 level. That's going to translate to D1 ball. He's been their best shooter, and so I think he's a guy to look for in terms of the behind the arc threat. It could be, again, it's going to be ups and downs, and there'll probably be ups and downs in game stretches where it looks really good. You kind of saw that in the exhibition against Upper Iowa. Looks really good and then looks really bad. But I think stylistically, this team's going to be a lot of fun to watch. They got guys who can run the floor, push tempo. They are, committed to that aspect of Creighton style, and they got some leapers, man. Like, I'm trying to think in my head who's going to have the most highlight-worthy dunks at the end of the year, and we're talking about 3, 4, 5 guys that have potential to do that. So you might see that one a night, where you're kind of checking Twitter and watching those social media clips over and over again where a guy's rising up and dunking on someone. So that piece of it for this, they're going to look a little different in that way. And they may have to grind out some wins early, but I think by the end of the year, they should find their groove, and we'll see where they're at then. The player that I think will surprise some people, I think, is Trey Alexander, just because he hasn't gotten a lot of necessarily hype, I guess you could say, a lot of buzz from a national perspective. He was the last guy to join the program in the spring. Former Auburn commit from Oklahoma City. Like, he makes good decisions. He can score at all 3 levels. He's got length and athleticism, an intriguing sort of frame to work with, especially as a defender. Like, I think he could be an impact guy on that end of the floor. But as with any freshman, it might start slowly for him. But I think as the season goes on, you're going to see him settle in more and more, and he could be a guy that pops come January, February. I feel like some of the other freshmen, Ryan Nembhard, Arthur Kaluma, they look like they're ready to go right now, and they were in the starting lineup in the exhibition, and they've got some pedigree to their name and some hype, and some media members, college basketball fans know those names. I don't know if they know Trey Alexander yet, but I think they will by the end of the year. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun season to follow. Again, like I said, maybe a little bit of a roller coaster, but this group has the potential, I think. Villanova, everyone's predicting Villanova to win the league. They're the favorite, and rightfully so. The Wildcats bring back a ton, led by Colin Gillespie. They have the potential to be a national title contender. But after that, it feels pretty wide open. Now, I know UConn's been getting a lot of hype and some buzz this offseason. They lost their best player in James Bouknight, but they have a loaded roster with a ton of athletes. And if you're into recruiting rankings, you see a lot of 4-stars on that roster. So you're thinking, okay, if UConn brings the same brand of ball where it's just tenacious defensively, they're going to give a lot of teams some problems, even if the Huskies haven't answered the scoring problems. But there's still enough questions there that I think the number 2 spot in the Big East is still open. And it's to me, it's not a, it's clear and obvious Villanova's the favorite going in. But the number 2, I think you can make a debate whether it's Seton Hall with the veterans that it brings back and a couple new additions, transfer additions that are going to play a part for the Pirates. St. John's is maybe the best 1-2 tandem in the league, and Posh Alexander and Julian Champagny. Xavier's bringing back seemingly everybody from that team a year ago, namely Paul Scruggs, who's going to lead the way. So Butler, another team that maybe slides under the radar, but bringing everybody back. So and teams like Creighton, who have been at the top in the top half of the standings historically since joining the Big East every year, but maybe one. That the Jays aren't, they're not going to enter the season thinking that they can't be there again. And so I think the race is going to be really fascinating to watch. Again, Villanova probably the leader in the Big East, but after that, who knows? And so maybe Creighton can find lightning in a bottle here and make a push to finish in the top half of the Big East. Should be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Season gets underway on Tuesday, so we'll have plenty to talk about next week, breaking down those games and previewing Nebraska. So until then, thanks for watching. I'm Jon Nyatawa.